boys and girls. Welcome to another edition of your favorite running podcast, Mr. Rubio Used to Run, the Running Warehouse podcast. And I'm Joe Rubio, your co-host. And my other co-host is the Mr. Rogers of the running world. Boys and girls, let's welcome Connor Blaylock.
Thank you, Joe, for the amazing intro today. And, you keep bringing in the big guests week after week.
Well, yeah, we have that.
You got to do it.
I know. And I got to comment on something. Where is your sweater? I mean, you need your button-down sweater. Anyways, I'm taking us off track. Go. We have a very special guest in our neighborhood today.
Very special. And, each week it gets a little bit better. One of my favorite guests recently was the Mad Dog himself, Bill Scobby. And today we've got a teammate of his and
Former training partner, maybe someone who has an even more prolific career when we look at the race list.
Former American record holder in the 15K, 20K, 25K hour, multi-time national champion, All-American, I don't even know how many times at Humboldt State, and probably his biggest career accomplishment, second place at Boston. We've got Gary Tuttle.
Exactly.
Right.
Welcome, Gary.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Pretty good. That was a good introduction. Appreciate it. You mentioned Boston Marathon, which is the race that everybody thinks is, for me, the best race ever. Actually, my best race ever. I got 7th, which was a World Cross Country Championship.
Yeah, which is fantastic.
So that's that's an interesting story already. My wife met me when I was running pretty well, and the better you run, the more you get beat, because you compete overseas, and if I stayed in California, I win. But so my wife, after about 2 years of watching me run, says, "Don't you ever win?" I said, "No, the better you get, the less often you win, because you're always racing the best." Yeah. I said, "You want me to win? We'll stay in California." But anyway, thanks for the introduction. Yeah. Yes.
How'd you start running?
Well, I didn't even run track till my senior year in high school. I ran cross country, and here's how I got into running. I thought I was a baseball player, and I was JV baseball, and we played the varsity in a scrimmage game, and I hit a line drive to right field, one hop to the right fielder. This is varsity. I'm JV. I take off running. The right fielder catches it at one hop, throws me out at first before I even get there. And Coach Hunt was sitting next to my dad. He was the track coach, and my dad was a basketball coach. And he said, "You got to get your son out for cross country because he has no fast switch. There's no history with sprinting for him." And my dad was like, "Well, I don't know. He's a pretty good basketball player." And
your dad was a heck of a basketball coach.
Yeah, he was.
He's like in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the
Ventura.
Yeah, Ventura Hall of Fame and the Whittier College Hall of Fame. So anyway, I went out for cross country 4 years, and I didn't run track till my senior year because the senior year was the first year they put the 2 mile in the state meet, in the dual meets even. So I thought, maybe there was a spot for me on the team. So went out for track and quit baseball and been a runner ever since.
Yeah. And then you went to Humboldt?
Yeah, I went up to, Vince Engel and I were college roommates.
Right.
We'll talk about it probably pretty soon. He wrote the book that I wanted to promote. But we were teammates in high school and best friends. And so we wanted to go somewhere where we could both go. And so we drove my dad took us up to Humboldt, which was a 12-hour drive from Ventura back then.
Yeah. There's no freeways.
No. And we thought, oh, man, look at this place. Redwoods all around, a beautiful track. Now, do they have a track program? Because we didn't even know. So we went into the Hall of Fame track record room, and sure enough, they had track records, and they were all slower than our high school times. So Vince and I go, hey, man, we could do something here, big fish in a little fish in a, what is it? Big fish in a small pond. Or whatever it is. I went up there. Vince had to go to junior college at Citrus for 2 years. I went up there, and the track coach was the insurance agent locally, and he decided after my freshman year he didn't want to do it anymore. So I got on the phone to Hunt. Coach Hunt was
he was your high school coach, right? Yeah.
And he when we told him we were going up there to run, he said, "Oh, we love it up there. We go up there every summer and vacation." I said, "Coach, the job's open." So he jumped on it, and I promoted the heck out of it with the athletic director. And the next thing you know, my sophomore year, Coach Hunt is up there coaching. And I got to tell you, Hunt was the best coach in the country.
Yeah, I mean, because when you talk about seeing records that you could beat in high school, when I think of Humboldt, I think of one of the best programs in Division II at the time, and it sounds like most of that was because of Jim Hunt and his training.
Yes. Yeah, and he attracted a lot of good runners, and Vince Ingle brought a lot of people up from Citrus, and I was instrumental in getting a lot of runners there, and and then what happened was, in 1 year we started doing some pretty interesting, good stuff, and I think the running world in California anyway was thinking, what's going on up there in Humboldt? Why are these guys? What's going on? So everybody wanted to be part of what we called running behind the Redwood Curtain, and it was 5-6 hours every weekend to go to a meet. We'd had jump in the checker. It was a big 12-seater car, and up and down to San Francisco or Davis or Chico, up to Oregon. It was always a big road trip. So it kind of built camaraderie. We all starving to death because we had no scholarships. So that's part of the book as well, the starvation of the runners up at Humboldt back then.
That's what Hunt did. He starved you guys.
So anyway, that's
yeah. So you won how many national championships?
Oh, I don't know. Some were big national championships. Some were, just show up.
Just in college.
You were in college.
In college, I was. Let's see. I was twice. I won the NC2A steeplechase championships my junior senior year, and that was small college.
Right.
It was only 2 divisions.
Yeah.
We were
small
not
and
3.
large.
And so a small college. And then I was second my sophomore year. The guy was a senior. He beat me from Texas, and I thought, all right, this is mine for the next 2 years because he's gone. And sure enough, it was. But so I won the steeplechase twice, and second once, and cross country. My freshman year, my sophomore year, I didn't go my freshman year, but in cross country, I think it was 5th. And then I was hoping to win it my junior year and got back there and got sick. So I was like 70th or something. Then my senior year, I thought I'd win it, but Maurice Ben from University of Nevada, who was 28 years old, had competed in England for the Olympic team. He shows up. He didn't run for Nevada all season. They were in our conference. Suddenly we're embracing Maurice Ben, and he beat me, and then the kid from Portland State beat me. They threw Maurice Ben out about a year later because he was way over.
We're seeing that trend even nowadays with these athletes that you're like, that could be my dad.
Yeah.
But I imagine for cross country for you and the team, you guys were pretty strong because when I see the footage from the time from the Harriers, you guys were running on the beach, on the dunes. What was the training like?
Oh, the training was fantastic. All we had to do was get a good runner up there and let him run for a couple of days and show him and they go, I'm sold. Mark Conover, I'm sold. Danny Grimes, I'm sold. Gordon Innes, Chuck Smead, Scobie, all those guys. Once we got them up there, and once Hunt got a hold of them, they stayed.
Yeah, a heck of a team. I mean, you're gone at that point, but when Cal Poly was supposed to win D2 Nationals and cross, they had all their studs.
Yeah.
And then Mark and company ended up winning.
Right.
Pretty surprising.
Yeah.
But Hunt knew his stuff.
Yeah, he was good. He taught us how to train by ourselves. By the time we left Hunt, we knew what we wanted to do, and he told us how to handle the rest of our career, and we just went out and did it.
Right.
Did our own workouts.
Didn't he? Maybe I got this wrong, but you had a clock at the track at Humboldt.
Oh, yeah.
And he would post workouts, and that's how you time yourself, is on a giant clock?
Yeah, we had a giant clock that had only a second hand.
Yeah.
So it was always, in the second hand. So if you perfect for quarters, because you'd start.
But 1200s might be a little tough.
Well, yeah, 1200 is a little tough. But yeah, and then we had a sawdust inside of the track was a sawdust chip lane. So we did a lot of our running on the sawdust.
Yeah, a little softer surface,
Little
save the
softer.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one year you and Bill Scobby won nationals in track, right?
Right. Bill and I only had one track season together the
Yeah.
whole time. We didn't have any cross country together because he was in the Army. He was older than I by 3 years, and he was in the Army. Came out of the Army and came to Humboldt, and came up in January my senior year. So that was the only year we ran together, and I had won the conference steeplechase and 3 mile 2 weeks before. And could have, frankly, won steeplechase and 3 mile in the nationals. I wanted Bill, and he wanted to win. Hunt didn't want us going after each other, so I ran the steeplechase one. Bill won the 3 mile.
Which is awesome. And you made Hunt look like a genius.
Yeah, and then Vince Engel was like 4th in the 1500.
Yeah.
So.
I know we've mentioned Vince in the past, but for those that don't know, he was a heck of a runner and then became heck of an advertising executive.
He sure did.
You know, the what you call it? The
Nike advertisement
Nike ads.
featured the Harriers. And we talked with Bill a little bit about the Harriers video. He said he was on the very tail end of that, so he didn't actually, I don't think, made it out. Do you remember the filming of this?
Yes, I do remember the filming, and I frankly was not part of it very often because it interrupted workouts. And they wanted you to, Hunt would have us doing mile repeats or whatever, and they'd say, hey, we need 5 guys over here to do this scene. And I'd go, anybody want to go? Some of the runners like, oh, yeah, I'll go. And I'm like, no, I want to finish the workout. So anytime I'm in it, there are actual workouts. But one time when we were running down the beach in the fog, and it's a great scene, and I'm running next to Vince, we're all running together, and they said, we're going to get your feet going up and down and maybe look at your breath. And I said, Vince, I'm going to blow my cheeks out really hard. And it's like, he says, that looks stupid. I go, you watch, it'll make the movie. And sure enough, the main scene in the movie.
And then how long were you in Humboldt after you graduated?
Well, half a year.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to get drafted.
Yeah.
So I went down to my draft board and said, I don't want to do this draft thing. And they said, well, too bad. But here's what we'll do. We'll put you on the Army track team. And I said, okay, well, if I got to go in, that's the way I want to do it. They said, you still have to go to basic training and all that. But, well, it turned out they pulled me out of basic training after the first week of basic and put me on the Army track team.
Yeah.
So, but then after 10 weeks, whatever it was, I had to go back to basic training. So I'd been in the Army half a year before I ever went to basic training, which is the way to do it.
Yeah, Bill said you weren't liked much at where you were based.
No, neither one of us were.
Well, I think you set the stage for him not being liked.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
So we both were stationed. I didn't know him at the time, but I got to, I did know him at the time, and I went to San Antonio where he had been, and I worked in the same gymnasium for the same guy that Bill worked for. So I get there and I said, hey, I'm a friend of Bill Scobby's, I ran, and the guy just, Bill Scobby's a jerk, and so are you. And I'm like, well, that didn't go well. They did not like Bill. They did not like me. If you didn't like the Army, they didn't like you.
Yeah.
And that's fair.
Did you go through any sort of basic training where you got to show off your running skills in the Army?
Yeah, well, it was kind of like, what is that, the rabbit in the briar patch, please don't throw me in the briar patch. Because, so I didn't let them know at first that I was a runner, and they'd make you run extra. You're out of step, Tuttle, go run a mile. Oh, no. They'd be marching, I'd be out running. And then they found out I was a runner, and they hooked me up in a race. The drill sergeant wanted to make money. The 2 drill sergeants had a bet, kind of like you see on TV. They make these bets, and sure enough, and I had to race Schrabum, Bill Schrabum. You remember Bill Schrabum, San Marcos? He was state. Well, there's a great story about Bill Schrabum in the West Coast relays, and he ended up beating us in the distance medley. But anyway, so I wanted revenge, and I had to race Bill Schrabum on the sandy track that had up and downs with boots. I had boots on, and he did too. And I ended up beating Bill. I don't know what we ran, but so I made some money for the drill sergeants by beating Bill Schrabum in a mile. The only time I probably could have beat him.
Like Cool Hand Luke with the eggs or something like that.
Yeah.
So did that continue? How long after were you in the military, and then did that continue on to like running competitively on the roads?
For the well, I was at Fort Sam in Houston, And they made me, I went in as a conscience objector saying, okay, I'll serve, but I'm not going to carry a weapon. They said, okay, fine, don't carry a weapon. We'll make you a medic. We'll send you to Vietnam. You'll pick up a weapon. I go, well, we'll see. So I thought, this is not going well for me. So I ran a 10K road race in San Antonio, and the base, not commander, but yeah, the base commander saw it. He wanted to beat Fort Hood in the annual track meet. They had all these it was a track meet. And so he said, you're not going anywhere, young man. You're going to stay right here and run track for me. And I go, oh, please. Don't throw me in that briar patch again. So I ran San Antonio, and I stayed in San Antonio for 2 years, and I knew I did not like Texas, but I was there. And I knew there was no future running-wise for a distance runner there on his own. So I went back up to Humboldt. Didn't work. When you're done at Humboldt, you should leave Humboldt. It's a great place to go, but get out when you can. Yeah. And so I went back to Southern Cal and started running competitively again.
Yeah, and then were you trained by yourself for the most part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, like I mentioned, Coach Hunt taught me everything he knew, and for me, and it worked.
Yeah. So when did it start taking off after the military? When did you really start hitting your stride?
When I left San Antonio 2 years later, so it would have been 74, 75.
Right.
What happened? I got really lucky. I ran the 6 mile, I think. Ran the 6 mile AAU championships at UCLA, and everybody was there. I got like 5th place, 3rd American, and Rogers and Shorter both beat me. Well, they had everything paid for. Everything signed up. They knew where they were going to run all their money races for the next year. So they didn't really want the track stuff. So guess who was first in line for the track stuff? Like USA Russia, USA China. I went to so many races because I was available, and it said, yeah, I'll take their place. They'd call, hey, Short and Rogers don't want to go to China. You want to go? Yeah. They don't want to go to Puerto Rico. You want to go? Sure. So I went to like 20 countries thanks to them making money elsewhere.
What was your favorite international trip you went on? I imagine China would have been pretty interesting.
It was incredible. It was a month in China. We raced three times. We had like a full track team. It was like 60, 70 people. The distance runners had to run 2 of the 3 races. Canton, these are what they were called then. I don't know what they're called now. Canton, Shanghai, and Beijing, or whatever. And it was just after the Cultural Revolution in China. So most of their good runners, which they didn't have very many anyway, were either dead or in a commune somewhere, because Mao didn't like it. And then all of a sudden, I guess Mao had a change of heart or something, because we went over there to race them, and they were all young, like 17, 18-year-olds, and not very good yet. So we didn't want to embarrass them. So you didn't want to double lap the Chinese runner. So you'd maybe single lap them or something. I don't know. But that was an incredible trip. We were the 3rd group to get into China. There was the ping pong diplomacy, and the Philharmonic, and then us. And so we were, like they had said, there were maybe 300 to 400 Westerners in the last 30 years that had even been to China, and here was 60 of us in one big group. It was an incredible trip. The trip I had liked the most was the USA-Russia dual meet. Every year they had Russia versus or maybe every other year, USA versus Russia track meet. I got to run the 10,000 meters. Unfortunately for me, the year that I made the team, it was at Duke and not in Russia. So I ran in Duke. It was hot. I ran the 10,000. The USA-Russia meet is 4 athletes, 2 Americans, 2 Russians in every event. So there were 4 in the 10,000, and it's hotter than heck. And I ran with Charlie McGuire was the other American. He came up to me before the race, says, "It's hotter than heck, man. Don't lead. Don't push the pace." And I go, "Charlie, I got to push the pace because I can't sprint. If I'm going to do anything," he goes, "No." I said, "No, I'm not going to sit back here and get last." So sure enough, I pushed the pace. They all stayed with me and out-sprinted me, and I got last. The harder you get 1 point, it was like 5, 3, 2, 1. Point-wise, I got 1 point for America. It was the hardest point that you got, I guarantee you. 10K and 100 degrees heat at Duke. It's 4 of us.
And there's always been that rivalry between U.S. and Russia. Yeah. Could you feel the heat on the track between the athletes?
Yeah, definitely. There was a lot of competition. A lot of times you go run against the New Zealand or Australia, it's all one big party. With the Russians, there was no party. And except Shana Na played a big group at the end. That was our party. But the funny thing about that was, they were calling America's capitalists, and we were the devil and everything, and they were pure. So we had at Duke, they had we were on this side in the dorms, and they were on this side. You could peer into their rooms, and they could peer into ours. And the Levi company was there giving away Levi's, which were a hot commodity in Russia, and the Russians got to go first, and we'd watch Borisov walk down the steps, get a couple of Levi's, go back up, put them in his room, go back down the steps, get a couple. By the time they got to the Americans, they were out of Levi's. And they thought they had enough, so we got Levi's the next day. But so that was interesting, and watching Borisov and their high jumper out their window. And then the big shot putter, Alexeyev, what is his name?
That sounds about right.
So anyway. when did you start getting into roads?
I was good at roads, and I got into it as soon as I knew I was good at roads. Yeah. I ran my first road race in high school as a senior down in Oceanside, a 4-mile. I won the high school division. I thought, this is easy. I like this. Then I ran the Rose Bowl 10-mile. I was not ready for a 10-mile in high school, a race. And I was miserable. I go, well, maybe I'm not ready for road races after all. But it turned out I had a pretty good road racing career. I think it was 1973, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I was selected by California Track and Field News as California Road Runner of the Year, Road Racer of the Year. So that was a pretty good career.
Right. And during that time, you're setting American records too, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked a little bit about road racing nowadays. It's quite a bit different than back in the 70s, 80s. One race, though, that continues to be a staple for us with the Aggies is Beta Breakers. Yeah. And you had a win there. Was that a pretty big deal?
Yeah, it was. It was good. Yeah, it was probably my first big race win. Big, certainly there were several thousand runners and lots of good runners. Beta Breakers was.
Do you remember the Aggies with the Centipede? Would you see them out on the line?
I actually ran with their team one year as a senior.
Wow.
They recruited me to run with their team, but I think Kevin Searles and his wife Noreen recruited me.
Wow.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, the road races, I was looking down the list of your accomplishments.
You're prolific. I don't know. It's like every weekend you're racing.
I would scroll. I didn't know how. I mean, it's just insane. And even in my hometown, I'm from Palm Desert, Palm Springs, your name is on our record list at the Tram Road, which
Tram Road, yeah.
I'll be racing next week.
Oh, no kidding. They still do that.
They still do it.
Wow,
and
good luck.
We'll see. I don't think I'm going to break your record. It was pretty fast, but I'll get as close as I can.
I think I don't have the record anymore. I think an African broke it.
You're right. It was either an African or maybe like an Olympian from down in Mexico came down and I think broke it.
Okay, I just know it was gone. I actually have, I think, the 40 and over record and the 50 and over record as well. So I ran. I was running really well into my 50s for an old guy.
What were you running? Like, what was your time range as a 50-year-old?
I was always thinking I could one more time break 16 minutes, and it'd always be like 16:50.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Right. I was motivated to beat my wife, though. She's 10 years younger, and she could, she was a good runner. She ran a 2:41 marathon, so, right. And she ran she ran a 17-minute 5K on the track.
And she was the one that kind of roped you into going out to Boston, correct, for the Boston Marathon?
Yeah, the year I got second. She qualified. She was just beginning to run well. She qualified. She hadn't run Boston before. So I said, well, let's go. So, I ran for New Balance, and they were back there. And so we go to the New Balance factory and get a bunch of free stuff. And then New Balance says, well, you ready for tomorrow? And I go, oh, I'm not going to run. They go, you're all the way back here and you're not going to run? I go, no, and I don't have a number anyway. And they go, well, come on, we can get you a number. So they got me a number, and I went to the starting line, and It was the year that it was hot, and there weren't a lot of great runners, to be honest. So Jeff Smith was going to set a world's record. He was in world's records pace. He's out there. I said, nope, not me. I'm not chasing him. And I said, I'll hang into second if I can. Well, I get to Heartbreak Hill in second place and pretty good. And in Boston, the leader has a big helicopter going over him. So you always know where the leader is and where you are, because you just watch the helicopter. And I'll be danged, at 16 miles, I'm thinking, that helicopter's getting closer. And I get to the Heartbreak Hill, and the fans are yelling, hey, he was here about 3 minutes ago, and he stopped and stretched, and he's got a cramp. You can get him. I'm like, oh, yeah, and here comes the helicopter. And I get closer and closer by like 20 miles. I'm like, man, I'm looking behind me going, I'm in that, hold on to second, I'm hurting. I said, he's gone, I'll hang on to second. So I got second that year.
Yeah, I found a quote from years and years ago, and it said, but I made a nice move, and I was going really well. Running was really strong at 21 miles, and by 22, I was just surviving.
Yeah.
I couldn't carry the distance through. And I feel like that is very common, where like that mile 22 in a marathon is like a game changer, and a lot of people, that's almost where the race starts.
Right. I don't know what it was. Me and marathons were not a good mix. I could never ran a good marathon. I was 2:15. I was beating guys in a 10K by 15, 20 seconds who were running 2:12. And I'm like, why can't I run a marathon? Never could. I ran decent. I won the national championships twice. But again, there's not a lot of, other than, hey, you're national champion, there's not a lot goes with it. There's no money comes with it. No, maybe a few trips here and there. But so I pick and choose my marathons, did pretty well.
How many American records did you set?
Huh?
How many American records did you set?
4.
4.
They're all gone.
Yeah, no, yeah.
The shoes took some of those.
What do you consider your best American record?
Oh, well, the hour run.
That thing is amazing.
Yeah.
And didn't you say multiple American records were set in that?
Well, yeah, you run. It's a funny thing. Okay. The funny thing about the hour run, I got better and better every year, and I do that hour run. I never broke an hour.
But how far did you go? You went 12 miles.
I went 12 miles, 811 yards, which is, my goal was to get over 20 kilometers in that hour.
Yeah,
and I passed the 20 kilometers, and I had like, a minute to run still or so. But the 10 mile, it was pretty decent. It was 47 minutes, but I still had 13 minutes to run. Yeah. So I could have run a lot faster with the 10. But so the 20K was, the hour run was the best, and the 20K was second best. But Bill ran over 12 miles as well.
Yeah.
And Bill Clark.
Bill Clark.
He ran over 12. I think I broke his record when I did it.
Did Bill win Boston?
Bill Clark?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
I just remember running with him when I was in high school.
Yeah.
A little kid. I had no idea who the hell the guy was.
He was old then.
Yeah, I know. But I was just a little kid. You're just trying to run with people. Yeah. And I ended up running with him all the time.
Right.
So it was. I got to know him pretty well. Good. So it was good. Yeah.
And Bill Scobby, training partner of yours,
yeah.
He is a favorite of ours and a favorite of a lot of our fans because of his crazy, crazy high mileage. Were you doing any of that with him? Would you? I think at one point he said he hit about 220 miles was maybe a peak. Yeah. Did you ever get over 200, 150?
No. I would run 105 miles a week after week, year after year after year. And I'd try higher mileages occasionally. Mm-hmm. But if I went to 120, I just broke down. Not injury-wise, but I couldn't hold it.
Yeah.
I think I was too thin. Frankly, I was really thin. I mean, no body fat at all.
Right.
So I couldn't hold it. So no, he and Chuck Smead were the mileage kings. So I'd run with them, and they'd want to go, let's go another hour. I go, no, I don't like to do anything for an hour, more than an hour, much less running another hour. So he was more of a mileage king than I am. But if you talk career mileage, got them both beat. Because I ran 100 miles a week for 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, what about at the famous Humboldt camp? Would mileage start racking up there?
Yeah, that would be Yes, we'd get. Well, it'd be 2 week. We'd go up there for 2 weeks. We'd have a 2-day break and go to the Hunt's cabin. So, yeah, that would really be a tough week, because what would happen, guys like Conover in high school and Grimes in high school would come up and they're already good and they want to be, they want to run with us. And I'm tired. I've been running for 2 weeks with these kids, and there's Conover trying to, race me. And I'm like, oh, not again. Come on. All right, here we go. So the camps were tough, but they were fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you and Conover had that epic Clam Beach race.
That was, destroyed us both for about 2 months.
Well, explain that race. I mean, it's that whole thing it's a crazy race.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You start in Trinidad?
Trinidad, California.
Yeah.
Clam Beach.
Yeah.
And you run 6 miles down to the ocean. You cross a little river. So that's the first dilemma. Do you take your shoes off and run the next 2 miles in the sand barefoot, or do you slog along with
Because it's deep. I mean, it's chest high.
Oh, yeah,
the water.
it can be.
Yeah.
There's a rope, and you have to run along the rope, and it's only about 30, 40 yards, so it's not a huge commitment. But then you get on the beach, and it's funny because Conover was running for Humboldt at the time, and of course Mrs. Hunt, his coach's wife, she was my biggest supporter and fan for years, and so I get down on the beach. And I take my shoes off. I lose about 20 yards to Conover, but I quickly catch back up because he didn't take his shoes off. So Mrs. Hunt is in a Jeep, open Jeep, and she's driving along because it's on the beach now. She's driving along, and I hear her voice, "Come on, you can do it. Come on." I go, finally, Mrs. Hunt. "Come on, Mark, you can beat him." And I went, "Wait, what? You're cheering for Mark?" Yeah, of course she was, because he was running for them then. So I got the last laugh because Mark didn't take his shoes off, and his feet were flying all over the place. But we ran incredible that day. It's still a record. Mark to this, well, not to this day, but Mark to the day he passed was, it was like, that was the toughest race I ever ran, including the marathon.
Yeah, because you guys were smoking right from the get-go.
We had something to prove.
Yeah.
One of us was still king.
Yeah.
And it had to be me. I was still King Clam.
And that's funny, because I've heard that common trend with Conover. The local race that's happening in a few weeks in Baywood,
Yeah.
he was known to win this race year after year. And there was one year he showed up. I think he did maybe 6-7 miles before the race. Showed up and he said, "Hey, we're going to take it easy off the gun." They kind of made a pact.
Jonesy did.
With Jonesy.
Not
and
Steve Jones, Kevin Jones.
Kevin Jones. And I guess from the gun, they went off in record pace.
Jonesy took off, and Conover goes, You suck, man, dude. We weren't supposed to do this. Just like you, right? It's just like
that
the guy takes
competitive
off, and you
nature.
just go, "Oh, come on, we're doing this now."
Yeah. He was tough. Mark was tough. But so Mrs. Hunt was his biggest fan then. I was like, "Wait, what? You're cheering for Mark?" And then I thought about it. Okay, well, you can cheer for Mark, but he's going to get second today. That was all I needed, the inspiration right there. I did not like to get beat. I think, I brought this book, and we can talk about that. It's called Running Behind the Redwood Curtain. It was just written by us. Vince England mostly did all the work, but mostly it's a story of about 20 guys. We're really smart. We put 20 guys in the book because they were all there. Everybody wants to buy at least 5 books, like friends and neighbors, because they're in the book. So anyway, it's doing pretty well. It's a collection of Humboldt State old memories. Some I've already mentioned, some really great ones. Can I read one?
Yeah, of course you
I've
can.
got it marked here. Again, it'll be kind of out of context, but it says, "Thanks, Mark." And then Gary steps up with another memory. "I'll set the scene. It was track season 1969, over 50 years ago. We had already won the Davis Distance Medley, and now we were poised to race the West Coast best teams at the West Coast Relays at Fresno State. Our team was composed of me, running the 1320, Dennis O'Reilly, the 440, Vince Engel, the 880, and Bill Scobby, the anchor mile. We were ready to run a super fast time against a field of 26 university and college teams. I led off the relay with a 1320, and after 3 laps, I handed off tied for first with San Diego State. O'Reilly sprinted the first 100 only to be caught, of the 400, only to be caught by Olympian Ulyss Williams of Arizona State and 3 other blistering quarter-milers. O'Reilly handed off to Engel, who took off 4th or 5th place. After the first lap, Engel caught the fading San Diego State and Arizona State half-milers and charged down the last 100 yards to pass off to Scobby in front of 4 tightly bunched milers. Bill, you dashed off with San Diego's sub-4-minute miler Tim Danielson and Occidental's 4-minute miler Bill Schrabum tied on his tail. You held a slim lead until the last 50 yards when Schrabum passed us for the victory and a new college national record. Our official time was also under the old record with our time of 9:48 flat. Now here's the punchline. That wasn't the story. The punchline. So 50 plus years later, I go to we all go to our team reunion. We had a team reunion. I think it was the Hunt's 50th wedding anniversary. I asked each one of us, I had a pencil paper, what was your split that day? Okay. I responded with a 2:59, which I believe is true. O'Reilly was quick to respond with 48.9. Vince Engel responded with 1:52 flat, and Scobie said 4:04. Now, our memory split time, so these 54 years later, added up to a record-breaking winning time of 9:43. So our official was 9:43. As I've said before, to quote the great Red Smith, the older we get, the faster we ran as boys.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, that's
we hear that quite a bit too. It seems like the time's always, as time goes on, you remember that race was a little quicker than it maybe was.
We set the national record that day and beat Occidental by 4 seconds and didn't even know it.
So a lot of people don't. Well, I remember this race. I never ran it, but the Lasse Viren 20K.
Oh yeah,
yeah, you did really well at that.
Yeah, that was I always had to go to the East Coast to race people. Yeah. And it's not easy. You know, they'd wake up in their own bed and they'd go to the starting line. I'm flying all over the place. This was the one race that the East Coast came to race us.
Right. And explain the race, because it's not like a normal race. It's in Strawberry Canyon?
No, Sycamore Canyon at Malibu State.
So it's a state park. It's on trails.
Yeah, it's almost all of it's on trails. It's basically a 20K loop.
Right.
And so
isn't that where they filmed? Did they film MASH there?
Yeah, MASH was filmed there.
Yeah.
Side note: Chris Christopherson, who just died, ran it twice.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, but that's not the story, I guess. Yeah, it was a 12-mile loop, and Aino from Finland had the connection with Finland Air, Finland Cheese, and Lasse Viren. So Lasse Viren had already won
the Olympics.
5 and 10, and they brought him out to race the Lasse Viren 20K. This was the first year of the race.
Right. And for those who don't know, Aino is a sculptor, right? Was he based in Malibu?
Yeah.
Okay. So this race took place in between like Oxnard and Malibu.
Yeah.
Right on the coast.
We'd have, and I'm from Ventura, which is close. So, he had Shorter there, he had Don Cardong, he had Viren, he had... Every year there would be 3 or 4 Olympians, and so I get to race Olympian on my home turf, and it was great. I think I won it 3 times. I got second to Gitama
Shahanga.
He called himself Safari Amo, but he was actually I don't know why he had a fake name. But the course record is still held by. They don't do the race anymore, but the course record was by Adrian Royal from England.
Yes.
And he beat me the year. I broke an hour on that course, and I couldn't find him. I swear, he got up ahead of me, and I thought, okay, I'll catch him on the downhill, at least see him. I get down the bottom. I can't find him. I can't catch him. They have a helicopter again in that race, and I'm like, oh, there he is, but I can't catch him.
Well, Adrian, I think that was the year he won cross country nationals and beat Salazar down in Burbank.
Yeah,
I believe he was wearing a Moosehead Track Club singlet.
Yeah, well, he used to train in Los Osos here.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, he was based here for a while. Yeah. So we used to have a Friday run. It was called the Moosehead Run. Remember, he used to wear that Moosehead.
Yeah,
that's where it's from.
It came from.
Yeah. So if you look at it, I don't know. When he was on the cover of Track and Field News, it'll say Los Osos. It'll say Baywood on it. So he was a local guy for a while. So interesting.
Yeah, Adrian Royal. Well, yeah, that was Lasse Viren Invitational. And, it was covered by LA Times, and
it was a big deal.
Big deal.
Yeah.
It was again. They had helicopters, I mentioned, and the helicopter would stay low over the trails because there were no houses or anything. And it was, you had to keep pushing them away because like, I don't need to run into this wind.
Yeah.
But it was really windy. I remember running on the dirt one race, and a rat had been flown and swept up on the updraft and went flying over. I'm like, what the heck? And it was.
And it wasn't a flat course.
No, it wasn't flat at all.
No, it was rolling hills.
Yeah. I owned that course.
Yeah.
I mean, that was.
That probably helped. You knew it front and back,
Yes,
and some of those maybe better runners didn't have the technical ability to beat you on it.
Yeah, I remember Don Cardone came out and went, nope, this is not my type of race. He was like 5th or 6th.
So you had a legendary, probably still do, legendary VO2 max.
Yeah.
And you went to Dallas to get that tested with Dr. Cooper?
Yep.
So Dr. Cooper, for those who don't know, invented the term aerobics.
Yeah.
Right? And he was one of the early pioneers of exercise physiology and testing the top runner. So
yeah, he decided to bring back to Dallas about 15 runners. Half of them were world class. Half of them were national class. Everybody could run, but it was pre, and guys who were not quite, be lapped by pre type thing.
Shorter, Nick Rose.
Shorter was there. Nick Rose, Nick Rose didn't come when we were there, but so we had about 12 guys that could really run, and we spent a week back there, and they tested us with everything. They did VO2 max. Prefontaine was the highest ever recorded at the time. I was second. They did body fat. I was 1.2% body fat, something like that.
How is that possible?
Well, there you go. Runner's World has started having a debate among doctors. How can this isn't possible. You need more than that to survive. And well, yeah, but Gary Tuttle's proof that you don't. And so that was, I got to watch Steve Prefontaine. They did a biopsy of your calf to find fast and slow twitch, and you'd go one at a time in, and you'd be next to watch. And I happened to be behind Prefontaine. That guy could run, but he was a big baby. He was like, he did not like that. He was like, I don't want to do this. And they took a piece of, and I had, I was massive slow twitch.
Yeah.
I forget what the numbers were, but then they wanted to know, okay, so you're the worst slow twitch here, but yet you can run an 8:31 2-mile. How is that possible? And it was because A, I was competitive, B, I had the VO2 max to go with it. I was thin, which was important for the shorter distance, not the marathon, probably too thin for a marathon. And so that's why I could run an 8:31. And they found that even though I had very little fast twitch fibers, the fast twitch fibers were highly efficient with a lot of
type 2B or whatever they call them.
Yeah. So anyway,
oxidative.
At the end of the week they had a race, a 6 mile on the track at Cooper's place, and they wanted to see if they could find out who actually. Who would win this race? They wanted to predict. Well, they predicted secretly. They didn't tell anybody. They predicted me to win it because they knew, they talked to people. I was the most motivated to win it. I was just kind of lucky to be there, I thought. And Prefontaine was like, I'm not running a 6 mile. I'll do a 2 mile exhibition. And Shorter's like, Tuttle, I don't care about beating Tuttle. So so I won the race, and Dr. Cooper was like, yay, thank you, you proved our point. I'm like, well, I don't know what the point was, but I did win. So yeah, and he wrote in my book, because he had his book, he said, to the fittest, quite possibly the fittest man in the world. I'm like, oh, okay, I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Anyway, that's his aerobic story.
What was your typical training week like? Was it pretty much the same all the time?
Yeah, I'd pretty much run 13 times a week, only once on Sunday, long on Sunday, a couple of days a week, depending on what I was training for. If I was training for a 10,000, which I really enjoyed doing and enjoyed training, I would cut down on the mileage, a couple of weeks before the race. I had my favorite workout that I knew I'd be ready. It would be on the track, dirt track at Buena usually, and I'd run a sub 5 minute mile. and jog a lap. So I'm 4:59, and then I'd run a 4:49, then I'd run a 4:39, a 4:29, and then all out, and it'd usually be about 4:23. I couldn't get under 4:20, and when I get, and each one's with a jog a lap in between. So it's, okay, I'm ready. That was my get ready race. It wouldn't, I'd do it about 10 days out, and then I'd just start training quicker.
Right, but during the week, a normal week, you do, mile reps and quarters for the most part?
No, I'm mostly just hill running.
Okay.
And I'd run the way I feel. I'd say, I'm going to run 6 miles home from my inside track, my store at the time, 6 miles to my house. Some days I might take 45 minutes, some days I might take a half hour. I just hammer it because I felt good. So I just run the way I feel. I like to do fartlek. Fartlek is speed play. Yeah. Because you can run how you feel. I love to run, so it was easy for me. I didn't like running more than an hour. It's I'm done. Running's not that much fun.
So you ran your PR on the 10K when you were 36?
Yeah, 28, 26. Again, it was thanks to my wife, Ruth.
Was she yelling at you or something?
No, she hadn't seen. She kind of missed the peak of my career. So I was 36, and I said, I'm going to try to make the Olympic trials one more time. And you had to qualify time wise. I think it was 28:30.
Yeah.
And I ran 28:26 at Mount Sac in front of her,
mm-hmm.
and she said, "Oh yeah, you can run. Okay."
And you made the trials 72, 76. 80 and 84?
Yeah.
Wow. Quite a...
All of them in the 10... Well, 72 was in the marathon, and I was not ready for that. I just was there. Anybody could almost be there. But 76, I was this far off the team. It was a sprint between myself and...
Anderson?
No, the guy that... Ed Mendoza.
Oh, yeah.
And Ted Castaneda.
Yeah.
The 3 of us were fighting for that third team spot. And Mendoza got there. I got trapped behind Mendoza because Castaneda, I just kind of leaned into him, but no hope.
Yeah.
And were the trials at Oregon any of those years?
Yes, 72, 76, and 80 were at Oregon. 70, and then the other one was 84 at L.A.
Okay.
Coliseum.
And during that time, Bowerman era, did you have any confrontations with Bowerman?
Well, that's actually, back to the book, some of the stories in the book. Scobie and I and Vince Engel were our senior year, we're going up to Portland to run against Portland State. So on the way up to Portland State, we stopped by University of Oregon, Eugene, and I said, hey, Scobie's driving. I said, hey, I'm going to change into my running stuff, and I'm going to jog 2 laps around the track because we'd never been there yet. This was college still. So I jump out. Scobie pulls over the street curb. I jump out. The track's just right there. I start jogging, and Bowerman goes, hey, jogger, get off the track. Go to the jogging track where you belong. I thought, we just haven't connected yet. We'll be fine. I said, no, he said, I don't care who you are. Get the heck out of here. You don't belong here. So, and he turns away, and I said, okay, fine. I said, I'm the New York State mile champion, and I was planning on coming here next year, but forget it. And he goes, no, wait, come back. I'm misunderstanding. I go, no, we're done. So, of course, Scobie and Engel are laughing like crazy in the car, how I'd been like this. Here's the best story of that, though. The next time up, we stop at the school, and we go into the locker room, and in the track locker room, and they're not in there, and they've got all their they've got tape and marks a lot, and so there's Pre's locker, and it says P-R-E. So Scobie grabs the marks a lot and writes natal after prenatal, and then we go out and we leave.
Oh man,
bunch of jokers.
Yeah, I bet he probably blamed all his buddies on that one, but that was Scobie.
Yeah.
Prenatal.
So you had a running store.
Yeah, for 30 years.
Inside track,
years, something like
right?
that.
And how'd that come about?
Well, I was working for my dad's sporting goods store, and running was just coming to fruition, and I didn't want to. So I was building up the running section, and I didn't want to go against my dad in sales. So he decided he was done anyway. He sell his half to his partner. Mm-hmm. So it freed me up to go do my own thing. And right away, I had New Balance and Dolphin. Dolphin shorts were huge. I couldn't.
In stripes.
Yeah. And so with New Balance and Dolphin, I sold them out of my car for a while. And New Balance said, "Hey, you're doing a good job with our stuff, but you got to have a store, buddy. We're not garage sale stuff." So I opened my own store and took it off from there.
Yeah.
It was very successful.
Right. I remember the most vivid memory I have of Dolphin shorts is Polly Plummer.
Oh,
Remember
yeah,
Polly?
Sure.
Yeah, she was beautiful and fast.
Yeah.
And she wore blue and white striped Dolphin shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First time I ever saw my wife was she had Dolphin shorts on. I'm like, okay.
Okay, well, it caught my attention. Yeah.
And then this store, obviously a lot of success over the years. Did you guys have any sort of like community or team that was a part of?
Team Inside Track. In fact, we'd come up here and race a few times in this area. I think we humiliated the Aggies one year in the beer relay at the Hartnell Park across the street from. We were a bit old. Keith Munson, who did run for Oregon State, and Scobby and myself, and I forget who else. You'd run the 4-mile course and have to drink 2 beers. Or you drink a beer before you go, you run 4-mile course, you drink a beer, and you hand off, and they get drinks of beer. We clobbered them. They were so mad.
So was your team better at the drinking or the running?
Yes. We were better at both. No, we were better at both.
Yeah. And did you coach? Did you ever coach?
Yeah, but it was basketball.
Okay.
My dad was a basketball coach. I grew up with a basketball in my hand. I was a basketball nut, still am. Ted Cotty, who was a good runner and also a basketball coach, needed an assistant high school coach. So I said, okay, I'll take over the JV team. So I did that for about 12, 13 years.
Cool. And then you were
But I didn't coach running really.
Okay.
I coached Ruth and got my wife and got her to the Olympic trials, but that was it basically.
Cool. And then you sold your store to Josh Spiker, right?
Yeah, sold it to Josh Spiker. Then he sold it to Michelle Martinez. Then she sold it back to Josh.
Right.
And then he changed the name from Inside Track to Mile 26.
And Ruth works there, right?
Yeah, she works there twice a week. It's only half mile from our house, so she just walks to work.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think he does real well.
I sat. I knew him secondhand and things like that, but I was flying back from Boston this year, and I ended up sitting next to him.
Oh,
so
right.
we had a good conversation and stuff like
he's a
that.
good guy.
So yeah, actually, our retail manager Isaiah ran with Josh at Wisconsin. That team, Wisconsin team, was. I mean, you had Tegenkamp, Zielinski, Josh, Isaiah. Who else? Oh, you had Avon Yeager.
Oh yeah,
was a freshman. That was a crazy team.
Yeah, it was
maybe one of the best of all time. I mean,
just in terms of what they did afterwards.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible team.
Yeah.
And Josh is he coaching right now?
Yeah, he's
at Ventura, right?
Yeah, he's coaching at Ventura. He walked in a nice situation.
Yeah.
He had Fast Horse, who was second in state, I think, in the mile.
Right,
or
and
something.
he's at Oregon now, right?
Yeah, he's at Oregon, I think.
Yeah.
And then he's got Sadie
Ahart. Yeah.
I don't know what she's doing. I haven't talked to Josh about this
I
year.
thought she was going to North Carolina.
Yeah, she's not there yet.
No. But
I haven't seen her compete yet
Yeah.
so I don't know if she's bypassing high school or what.
Yeah. But anyways, it's a solid running community down in Ventura.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely always has been.
Right.
Definitely always has been. Hey, before I forget, we've got a book called Running Behind the Redwood Curtain. It's it's just brand new out. It's got all kinds of great stories in it. I just read one, but the prenatal one, all that stuff.
So a lot of what we've talked about today can maybe even go more in depth in this book, and a lot of good stories.
Yeah, a lot of great stories.
And you can buy this through, is it Amazon?
Yeah,
okay.
Through Amazon. I think it's $29.99. It's a good deal. It's got a lot of pages and a lot of pictures.
Well, that's good because when the books don't have, when they don't have pictures, I can't do them.
No.
Like my dad wants to make me well read, so he sends me the New Yorker magazine. There's no pictures in that. It's just words.
Right.
I mean, I can't get through it.
I know.
Yeah.
So to this day, are you still running it all? I know you had so many good years of training. Did any injuries eventually hit you so hard where you said, I have to cut it off?
Yeah. At about 65, the age of 65, my back was bothering me and my hips were bothering me. I'm 77 in 2 days. At the age of 65, I actually was running in Ventura on the sidewalk in front of the stores. You know how they have the big windows and they reflect? And I'm running along thinking I'm looking good like the old days. And I looked over at myself and I went, oh my God, that is so pathetic. You are doing a disservice to your running community. that I look at you and go, not me, I'm not doing that. Look what happened to Tuttle. So I stopped running basically right then. Thank God I can ride a bike. And so I ride a bike and stay fit. My wife still runs, but...
Yeah, she's out running right now.
Yeah, she's out running right now.
Because you got into competitive biking for a little bit.
I did.
You tore a quad?
Yeah, I tore the quad. I actually did really well, much to the dislike of the biking community. You know, there's the two-day Death Valley, Mount Whitney, all on roads up to the portal. It's a 2-day race, a road race, and the first day I was like 4th or 5th, and they combined times like right. And the second day I won by so much going up on the 40 and over crowd that I won the overall. Oh my God, were they so pissed? They're running. These guys are all big time cyclists are now too old to compete in the Cat 1, and I ride through the middle of them to the top. Oh, they were so pissed. A runner, I don't blame them. If I was out there and a cyclist came out and beat me in the run, I'd be like, come on. John Sinclair went out onto running and to cycling and did really well. But they had to be mountains. I couldn't do technical stuff. And
when you had a huge aerobic engine and you were, just because you had the running injury didn't mean you couldn't translate that.
I was doing 200 miles a week on the bike.
Wow.
For about 2 years.
Wow. And just one final, so we talk about these injuries that you've had, the quads. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you had a million over the years. I heard that there was one on the track on the steeple pit that might have taken the win as maybe one of your worst traumatic injuries.
Yeah, that's in the book, and it's Humboldt is known as Steeplechase U. If you look, we list the steeplechasers. It's a great. Hunt was a great steeplechase coach. Well, what happened was I'd run steeplechase twice in high school at Pierce Junior College, and did okay. You know, just a high school. I'd run like 9:25 or something. Not bad. So I get to Humboldt, and Hunt's not there yet, and there's no steeplechase pit. So the steeplechase is gone from my mind. Well, Hunt comes up, my sophomore year, and says, "Hey, good news, Gary. The Far Western Conference has demanded that we all add the steeplechase into the league meets, the conference meets. So we're going to have pits and everything." So we put in a pit, and it's always wet up there. Not so much anymore, apparently, but it used to be always wet. And the approach was grass. They didn't put in a all-weather approach. So it was really slippery and dangerous. So we were sliding around. So Hunt gets the big idea to put a plywood board down. Well, the board starts getting slippery, and you got no spikes on your heel, and you plant and you slide. So he says, okay, well, I'll tack down a rug. So he takes this old shag rug and tacks it down. Now we're running into a soaking wet shag rug who's held down by nails. And so I come running up on a practice run, because we'd do it once a week on Thursday. We'd go over the jump. And I come running up full speed, race speed, and I plant my heel, and it rips the rug, and I go flying feet first. And we had no barrier. We had a barrier, but nothing between the barrier and the ground. I go flying feet first under the jump, and I hit the back of my head on the cement the cement backing, and it's 3 feet deep at the base. Well, knocked me out. I went in the water, no body fat, sunk right to the bottom. Everybody, like Tuttle.
He didn't come back up.
Wait, what? The Hunt jumps in, pulls me out, totally knocked out, concussion, go to the hospital. That was my big. So the problem was 2 weeks later was the conference finals, and then a week and a half later after that, NC2A championships. So I had to get back on that horse, basically. I did. I got back on there, but I remember the first couple of approaches again. I was like, ooh, I don't know about this.
Careful.
So what do you consider your best race of your career?
Well, the one that surprised me the most was my 8:31 2-mile indoors. That was, that's for me. I was like, okay, Prefontaine set the American record that day at Jack in the Box, 8:23, and I think one of the Africans got second, and I was third. Shorter was like fifth.
Wow.
That was always my goal, beat Frank Shorter. I got him quite a few times. He got me more than I got him, but I got him quite a few times.
And the World Cross, 7th place, that was pretty amazing.
That was very amazing. The best part of that story is I was 7th, and first, second, third, 5th, 7th, 9th, and 11th, and 13th were urine tested afterwards, and I was 7th. And Gaston Rolance, he was 40 at the time, but he was still running. He was like 11th or 13th, and so he got urine test as well. So they take us into this room with this old bathroom, about the size of this, and I'm trying to pee into this jar, and so is Gaston Rolance, and he's right next to me, peeing, and there's no separations. It's just he and I, right? And I'm looking at him like, oh my God, that's my hero. And I looked over at him and said, "You've been my hero for so long." And he's like, oh God,
taking a leak in your.
That was one of the highlights. Meeting Gaston Rolance at a urinal was one of the highlights of my life.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know if we're gonna top that one.
This has been fantastic, Gary. And thank you so much.
All right. Well, if you've enjoyed it, read the book.
Yeah, it's
for sure.
Yeah, I read it and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
It really is good reading. So awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary.
And happy birthday.
Yeah.
How are you celebrating? You're in Morro Bay?
Yeah, we're in Morro Bay. Ruth brought me up here for my birthday.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. We'll enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely will.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. Oh, what do we got to do?
Like,
comment, subscribe.
You got it, Joe.
And for now, from this neighborhood, boys and girls, we'll see you soon. Peace out.